Redefinition. This term comes from the Latin word finis, meaning boundary, end. So redefining a unit, or in my case, my classroom, meant coming up with new boundaries. Who is the teacher? Must it be the eldest person in the class lecturing in front? Who are the learners? Is it okay to be sometimes a teacher and sometimes a learner? And what if the actual teacher is also the learner? What is a classroom? Does it have to be a room? Can it be a learning space? Must it be confined to the 4 walls that surround you from 8 to 3? These were some of the questions that pushed my thinking as I connected, collaborated, discussed, and debated throughout this COETAIL journey. My name is Emily Roth. I'm currently teaching grade 4 in Abu Dhabi. When it came time to choose my final project, I sat down and examined my school's profile of graduate statements, along with our tech standards. There were a few skills that jumped out at me, and even though my kids weren't technically graduating yet, they were in 4th grade and needing to build these skills before getting to graduation. Skills like being an effective communicator, critical thinker, collaborator, and reflective learner. My challenge was to figure out how I could best teach these skills within the confines of my already demanding curriculum, and by using a tech lens to do so. Remembering to use tech not simply as a cool tool, but as a way to truly enhance the learning and bring it to a new level, a level of redefinition. This is when I decided that I wanted to pilot a blogging project. No one in our school had ever done anything like this, so my first step was trying to sell the idea to my admin. This was a big deal for my school. My school works within a walled garden, meaning our students have limited access to the internet. For example, my 4th graders' Gmail accounts are restricted to only receiving and sending email from within our school domain. By giving blogs to my students, this would open up the wall, allowing them contact with the world. As I mentioned before, all of this meant moving in a direction that my school had not gone before, so I had to make sure I was prepared. Summer of 2012, I had the privilege of attending the ISTE conference. I met the right people and instantly had a PLN. I emailed them previous to my meeting with my principal, and they helped me put together a document with all sorts of information: parent letters, permission forms, reasons why blogging would enhance the student learning, etc. Fortunately, it worked. The project was a go. Now, why did I want to get out of the walled garden? I think this question is best answered by a writing conference I had with one of my students in the beginning of the year. We were working on writing leads for our personal narrative stories. I had asked Amelia to write more detail in her lead because other people wouldn't understand. She replied that everyone in the class would understand because the story happened in the class with everyone there. To which I added, "Yes, but what if someone out in the world read your story?" And she said, "But no one in the world is reading my story." Amelia was right. No one in the world was reading our story. Her audience was confined to the walls around her, which led me to think, how authentic was this audience? I realized that students, just like adults, want to have a voice and be heard. By giving them access to the world through their blogs, my students would be heard. They would have a voice. Now, blogging without explicit instruction in digital citizenship and quality commenting would be a setup for failure. I made sure to embed these important lessons continually throughout the year. In addition, blogging without connecting to other people would simply be substituting writing on paper with typing on a computer. But before we started connecting with other classes, we mystery Skyped with several schools to make that initial contact, to make the virtual world they'd soon dive into more real. I was lucky to have that built-in PLN from ISTE, as well as fellow COETAILers to get us started, Cheryl Terry in Thailand and Brad Teese in South Korea. Cheryl, Brad, and I created a document where we matched up our kids so that they would have a blogging buddy to ensure constant feedback on their blogs. I also used Twitter to get more traffic on the blogs. I quickly figured out the beauty of hashtagging. Pretty soon, comments started coming from China, the US, Australia, the UK, and so on. My students got so excited when they heard that a teacher that I didn't even know contacted me via Twitter to say how great their iBooks that they embedded on their blogs were. This week, Cheryl, Terry, and I connected our classes again via Skype, where they got to ask their blogging buddy a question live.
I'm from Korea and I'm 10 years old.
My name is Leo. I'm from France and Egypt and I'm 10 years old.
You can ask your question first.
What's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport is soccer. And my question is the same as yours. What's your favorite sport?
Soccer.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This month, we are involved in a quad blogging project. This past week was our turn to post while the other classes gave comments. In only 2 nights, I approved over 220 comments. My kids were beyond ecstatic. What was most telling was to see and hear my more reluctant writers view their feedback. I could see their love of writing grow right before my eyes. What I love most about redefining my classroom using our blogs and other technology is that I'm seeing my students think outside of the box. They are starting to see that school isn't about me, the teacher, filling their brains with knowledge, and then off they go. To illustrate this point, I'll share a story about our nonfiction writing unit that we recently finished. The curricular goal was to have the kids produce informational text. I decided to have the kids use Book Creator on iPads. It wasn't easy getting all of the devices, as our library had only 10 for me to check out. I had to borrow 3 from 2nd grade and ask students to bring in their personal iPads. I was so impressed one day when I happened to walk by Jackson. He was writing about soccer but could not find the image he wanted. He wanted to show the positions on a soccer field. I had talked to them about only using images that were copyright friendly, so his choices were limited.
The field where he stays. So I went on the internet, saved a picture, and then I opened it up on Sketch. And so now with Sketch, I can put arrows for where the goalkeepers stay. And then if I wanted to use it for another position, I could just use the same picture and more arrows.
Rather than spending hours going through photos, he decided to make his own image using Sketch. This is critical thinking at work here. The majority of my learners are still at the point that they blog only when I ask them to. However, now more and more of them are at least commenting without me asking. I find a striking resemblance to my own COETAIL blog. I definitely don't blog as much as I read and comment on others. It takes a lot to put yourself out there. You want to be thoughtful in your writing. You don't want others to think you're an idiot. Here's what a few of my students have to say about their blogging experience this year.
Why do you blog?
Well, I blog because it's fun for me to share my thoughts with the world. And, since my partner is Sophia S. in Bangkok, I sort of find that if I have if I get a partner or if the partner responds to me and everything, I can get to know that person more and more.
What's the best thing about blogging?
That we post our writing online, that anybody can see it. And it's not only people in my class. And the people can comment on it. And it helps me.
I still sometimes get that, oh man, I'm in over my head feeling, especially when I watch the COETAIL cast geek out. I remember feeling that when I first entered COETAIL, which is why I named my blog Small Bites. I still have lots of gaps, but little by little, I'm learning each day. My learning has grown exponentially over the last year and a half. I think one of the things I've learned but need to continue reminding myself is the fact that I'm never going to be fully on top of things due to the way that tech and information in general is moving. It's going too quickly for anyone to stay up to speed. But I am okay learning right alongside with my kids or even from my kids. Back to what I said earlier, do we ever stop being a learner? I sure hope not. Because when you stop learning, you stop growing. One thing I do differently is start the quad blogging earlier in the year. The flood of comments really motivated my learners, but now it's May and the year is almost finished. I'd also communicate more frequently and effectively with my parents. Although there was no negative feedback, there was nothing outstanding either. However, we just finished student-led conferences where I got steady positive remarks like, "We really lucked out getting you for a teacher," and "I can't believe the amazing things my kids can do with technology that I have no clue." Part of my original idea for this final project was also to get my kids using Edmodo. I did get them using it over winter break, but it was only for social means. If we were going to be using it, I told the kids I wanted it to be purposeful and not just another cool tool add-on. Unfortunately, time and energy was consumed by other things, and I didn't really dig into Edmodo deeply. Over spring break, one of my students sent me an email with some useful sites to help us get started on Edmodo. My learner just became my teacher. This past year and a half in COETAIL has helped me to embrace myself as a learner. It has grown my PLN and allowed me to see that in this day and age, schools need to change. Knowledge is accessible by anyone, anywhere. It's time we start focusing less on content and more on those vital life skills that are crucial to shaping one's future.